Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Daniel and I run Nordic Anglers. Today I'm going to do a full video explaining all about the different types of Tubefly systems. I'm going to talk about the Frodin system, I'm going to talk about the Sportfischer system, and I'm going to talk about Futurefly system. These three Tubefly systems are the biggest Tubefly systems out there, and Tubefly just in general has so much potential. So stay tuned if you want to know more about Tubeflies and how the systems works. So, now I'm going to try to explain the difference between all of these different great Tubefly systems and what distinguishes them from one another. The first I want to talk about is the Frodin system. And the reason I start with Frodin, then move on to Futurefly and then to Pro, is because of the diameter of the hole in the different cones and beads. Frodin system has the smallest hole. So Frodin has a diameter of 1.5 millimeters, and this makes this ideal for also for the smallest of flies, because when you have a very small, very thin tube, then it's easier. And also Frodin has the smallest diameter of beads and cones. That makes the Frodin very ideal for tying really, really tiny and small flies. But because the hole in the different cones and such from Frodin is only 1.5 millimeters, this means that the Frodin system beads and stuff only will fit on the Frodin system. You cannot fit a Frodin cone on a Futurefly or on a Pro tube, regretfully. The Frodin is very well known for a lot of different really unique weights and really unique discs and cones. And in particular, the Frodin system has a really wide selection of really awesome colors, but also of especially tungsten, of different things made from tungsten. Tungsten has a really, really high density, and this makes the Frodin system ideal for fishing, relatively deep in the water. Of course, you can completely neglect to use any of these, and you can have your flies fish high, but overall, the idea behind the Frodin system is basically you have this small inner tube that you're gonna finish the fly with, but most of the fly you're gonna tie on some of the other diameters that Frodin offers. The 1.5 millimeter fits into the. This is an X small. This fits into a size small, which is 2 millimeters. The small fits again into a medium, that is 2.7, and the medium again fits into a large, that is 3.2. So basically, the idea here is you tie perhaps on the medium. No, the X small fits into the medium. You tie on the medium tube, the 2.7, and then you tie your full fly, and then when you're about to finish, you make the last couple of things you want to add on this very thin tube, and then add a cone in order to give your fly a really, really nice finishing look, because you will finish the fly up on a small diameter tube. So that's the basic idea about the Frodin system. The Futurefly system, on the other hand, has a lot of different tubes. They have, in particular, a 1.8 millimeter and a 3 millimeter, and the 1.8 fits into the 3 millimeter. But all the different beads, cones, and so on fits on the 1.8 millimeter tube. So it was 1.5 on the Frodin, now it's 1.8 for the Futurefly. And this means that none of the Frodin will fit on the Futurefly, but all of the Futurefly will fit on the smallest, on the X small tube from Frodin. 1.8 is a great size. It's one of the tubes that I use the most because it has a lot of diversity. It's not too thick that it's impossible to tie small flies, and still, because at 1.8 you can also use all of the things from the Pro system, which I'm gonna come back to. But 1.8 millimeter is the size of tube that all of the Futurefly stuff fits on. Futurefly is probably the biggest of these systems. It has the most diversity. It has the most different colors, the most different sizes when it comes to weights and cones and tubes. And Futurefly is really a good option and a really good place to start your Tubefly tying, because they offer a lot of diversity. They offer a lot of different things that simply just works really well for almost any type of system. You can see this is just one of my, unfortunately, a bit messed up boxes with Futurefly stuff in it. But the main thing here is that the Futurefly, all the different things, has a hole with a size of 1.8 millimeters. So moving on to the last of these tube systems, and that is of course the Pro Sportfischer. Pro Sportfischer has the largest hole diameter of the three different brands here. The Pro Sportfischer has a hole in all the different cones and tubes of 2.2 millimeters, and that makes all the Pro stuff fit on the Futurefly stuff, and of course on the base of the Pro fly tying system, the Pro Classic tubes, which have a diameter of 2.2 millimeters. But this also kind of put the Pro Sportfischer system makes that stand alone, because on the Pro Sportfischer tubes you cannot use the Frodin and you cannot use the Futurefly stuff. So on the Pro tubes you can only fit Pro things. Okay. Pro has a lot of really unique and great weights. Most of Pro's program is made from brass. They have some really unique weights that I use a lot. This is, for instance, the drop weight, which is an awesome way to add some weight to your flies. And I've been using the Pro really much in my fishing. This is the French Easy, an easy way to make a Francis-like fly that really sinks well and fishes just really awesome. It's also the Pro Beats that I use for my Tildas and Astrid and horse socks variations, variations is probably the right word here. All of these also have both the Pro Sportfischer and the Futurefly system has some really nice US tubes that you can use for a full length body, which is basically an aluminum tube and stuff. But the main thing here regarding these different Tubefly systems is to know what size, what diameter the hole in these different things are, so you can know exactly what can be used on what. And just to sum up, all the holes in all of the different Frodin stuff is 1.5 millimeters. This means Frodin will only fit on the X small Frodin tube. All the Futurefly things have a hole of 1.8 millimeter, which means it can fit on the X small Frodin system, but it cannot fit on Pro. All the Pro things have a diameter of 2.2, which means it can fit on the Futurefly 1.8 tube. It can also, in theory, fit on the both the small and the X small Frodin tube. But if you use a Pro Sportfischer bead with a hole of 2.2 on a tube that only has 1.5, that is only 1.5 millimeter, you're gonna have a lot of wriggle, a lot of spacing between the actual bead and the tube, and that is not gonna be optimal. So if you're gonna swap things, you should only swap, you should only step one down. You should not step two down. So if you want to tie on the Pro, then either use Futurefly or Pro. If you want to try on Frodin, then either use Frodin or Futurefly. So the smallest is the Frodin. In the middle level here, in regards to diameter, is Futurefly, and Pro has the largest diameter. Okay, so now we're going to talk in depth about the Frodin Tubefly system. The Frodin Tubefly system is unique. It's based on all the combined experience of Michael Frodin, probably one of the most experienced and skilled salmon anglers in the entire world. He's been fishing salmon for like forever in all of the really good waters. So Michael Frodin, he knows what he's talking about, and also he's one of the pioneers when it comes to tube flies. The fit system, Frodin's tube fly system, was the first big elaborated tube fly system on the market, and he has expanded and just continued to evolve and develop a lot of stuff through the last many years. So the system here is based on 4 different sizes of tubing. You have the X small, the medium, and the large. The X small is 1.5 millimeters, and it fits into the medium tube. The medium has a diameter of 2.7. The small fits into the large tube, so you can also fit those into one another. What basically is the idea behind this system is that the most used way of tying with the Frodin is basically you tie on the medium tube, but you have added a piece of the X small tube into this medium tube. This gives you the option to tie a fairly large fly like this, but it also makes sure that your fly is going to have a nice and small head, because you're going to finish the fly off with perhaps the last hackle or so down on the 1.5 millimeter tube, so you can add a small bead. You can no, not a bead, a small tube, a small cone, or a small disc, of course. If you want to see exactly how this system is used in real life, then I have on this YouTube channel, I have a fly that's called the Kraken, where I explains and shows you exactly how to use this technique. I also have another salmon fly that's called the TK7, I think, which is this. And this explains it exactly the same way as well. So if you search on my channel and search for Frodin, you will find different complete fly tying guides, instructional videos that shows you exactly how to use these different things, whenever how to use these. Okay, so that's about it for the actual tubes. As I said, all the different beads and cones and stuff from Frodin has a hole with a diameter of 1.5 millimeters, and that makes the Frodin system ideal also for tying really small flies. Also, Frodin is the system that has the smallest cone heads, that has the smallest discs, again making this ideal for tying really small flies or for not weighting your flies too much. The system has bigger weights and bigger discs as well, but because it has the smallest, then it's also the ideal system for tying the really tiny salmon flies. But as I said, it works great on the big ones as well. Another thing that's really good about the Frodin system is most of the weights, or it has a great variety of different weights in different sizes, but a lot of this is based on tungsten. Tungsten has a higher density than lead, and this means that if you want to have flies that fish the second it hits the water, or you want to have flies that fish really deep, then the getting a bit confused about all this as well. The Frodin system really offers a big selection of really things that can make your flies sink very rapid. Another thing that's important about the Frodin system is that due to the fact that the tube you're going to have all your cones on is only 1.5 millimeters, then there's not a lot of different tube needles that the system actually fits onto. So they of course fit on the tube needles from Frodin, and he has 2 different ones. He has a quite simple one that is fairly cheap, and this works great. But he also has one that has a bit more options in regards to adjusting where you want your actual needle, and I must say of these 2, then this is by far the best option, because you can move even the smallest of flies really close to the jaws of your vise, making it easier to tie on this system. So both of these works and function greatly, but I must say the needle plus device is the best way to go. Another great thing about the Frodin system is he has this starting kit, which basically is a lot of different weights and cones and discs. It has the needle as well, comes in this nice box here, has a lot of different tubes. And what this system, this starting kit does great is it allows you to play around with the system without having to buy, a ton of different things. But because this is just assortment of different colors and sizes, you will probably not be able to tie the same fly 5 times from this here. But it's a good way of starting out, getting to know how to tie tube flies, and this starting kit is a great way to do that. The other thing that's also unique to Frodin is this organizer, which I really like because it has rounded bottoms, so it's fairly easy to simply select one of the things that you want and just slide it up the side here, and to get your tube fly things organized. This is the best organizer I have tried. I have some old ones I use for some other stuff, but basically since they're not they don't have the rounded bottom, it's a bit more difficult to get these up. And something like this works as well, but the Frodin organizer is the best one out there. So just to sum up, the Frodin system offers great variety, has a lot of really heavy stuff made from tungsten, has the smallest diameter on cones and discs of all the 3 systems, and is tied on all the different parts here fit on a tube that is 1.5 millimeters, making this the best for the smallest flies. But because you can fit the small tube into a bigger diameter tube, you're also able to tie really big, large flies like the Kraken here, for instance, on the Frodin system. So a great system that has just so many options, and I use it quite a lot. That about sums it up for the Frodin system. Now we're going to talk about the Futurefly Tubefly system. The Futurefly Tubefly system is one of the most comprehensive and biggest tubefly systems out there. It's a Danish company. It's developed in Denmark, and you see this shines through on all aspects of this system. It's a system that's primarily designed to fish for salmon and sea trout in the northern part of Europe, but that doesn't mean that you cannot apply all of these different factors and things into your exact type of fishing. For instance, I tie a lot of sand eel and baitfish imitations on tube because you're then able to switch up the things and switch hooks and stuff like that, and your hooks doesn't rust. So tubefly systems in general are just really an awesome way of tying a lot of flies. And I know that tube flies are not that widely used in the US, for instance, but that doesn't mean that I really encourage you to try out tying tube flies, because they have so many applications. They give you a lot of different options, and they just overall in general gives you a whole new way of tying flies. And with that in mind, then the Futurefly system is a good way to start, because the Futurefly system is probably is more easy to start out with. It's not as technical as, for instance, the Frodin system, but it's basically very straightforward. You have the standard tubes here, which are 1.8 millimeters, and this is the tube diameter that all the different Futurefly things fit onto. The tube here from Futurefly in 1.8 millimeter is quite stiff, and this makes this system ideal because it will make more durable flies. And on this 1.8 millimeter, you are able to tie both small flies, like something like this small one, or you can tie even the largest of tube flies as well. Because this is 1.8 millimeter, this means that you cannot fit any of the Frodin things on the Futurefly system tubes, but you can fit all the Futurefly cones, beads, and discs on the Frodin system. So if you look at these in in a line, then you cannot move down, but you can move. You can move down, but you cannot move up. So Frodin only fits on Frodin. Futurefly fits on Futurefly and Frodin tubes, and Pro fits on Pro and on Futurefly as well. Basically, Futurefly offers a really wide range of both cones, discs, and US tubes. All of these in a variety of awesome colors, especially in particular these metallic colors. Looks great on the fly and looks awesome in the water, but that is pretty standard things. Futurefly is kind of like it has a really sound and solid base, but it has not that many really special design things. It just has basically the basics, but it has a lot of different sizes in that basic pack, and a lot of different colors as well. Futurefly also has a 3mm tube, which the 1.8mm tube fits into, making it even easier to tie really big flies. Another cool thing, and perhaps one of the things that distinguishes Futurefly, is that they have a disc that's called the MV disc. This is named after a Dane called Martin Vodborg, and basically this is a plastic disc that, it does not give the really awesome look to the fly. It looks a bit abrupt and stuff, but what this does is it pushes a lot of water. It makes the fly swim more erratic, but also it makes sure that your fly is not fishing too deep, making this a great way of making a fly that actually pulls a large wake behind it for night sea trout fishing and stuff like that. So Futurefly is probably the easiest system to start out with. It's very comprehensible. It has a lot of different things, but it's just very easy to start out with the Futurefly system. It's a great system, easy to work with, and I think that about sums it up for the Futurefly system. 1.8mm holes and tubes, easy and nice to start off with. The Pro Sportfischer Tubefly system is also a quite comprehensive and large system. Pro Sportfischer has 4 different diameters of tubes. They have a really thin one that's 1.4mm, which is basically the thinnest tube out there. I use this a lot for my coastal flies, for tying saltwater flies, because this comes very close to an actual hook, but because this is only 1.4mm, then it does not fit with all the different pro things, because it basically gets quite jiggly if you do this. But for my coastal fishing, I mainly tie just a fly. I don't use cones. I don't use all kinds of different weights, because that's not ideal and not well suited for any given coast flies. So the 1.4mm is great for coastal fishing, but the standard tube in the Pro tube system is the 2.2 tube. The 2.2 tube is called a classic tube. They have a flexi tube and a lot of different other specialized tubes, but the classic 2.2 tube is the standard tube for using with all the different Pro things. Because the hole in these all these different Pro cones and beads are 2.2mm, that makes the Pro tube unsuitable for Futurefly and unsuitable for Frodin. So if you buy Pro tubes, then you can only use Pro on this system. But it fits really well on the Pro system, but that's the only thing it can be used for. Pro also have a 3.2mm and also have a 4.2mm. The 4.2 is intended for pike, and it's a great tube for pike. Pro has a lot of different unique beads and weights. In particular, the Flexi bead from Pro is one of my all-time favorite beads for Tubeflies. I use the 5.2 millimeter for my three favorite Tubeflies for Danish salmon: the Astrid, the Tilder, and the horse sock variations. And it's just a superb way of getting your flies the right weight to make your flies fish in the right depth. Another thing that I'm really fond of from the Pro system is a weight that's called the drop weight. This again has quite a unique way of design. It has a quite unique design, and it also adds a lot of weight to your fly. So a fly like this is one of my all-time favorite go-to patterns for both salmon and sea trout in rivers. It's called the France Easy, and if you want to see how this is tied, then basically swing by Nordic Anglers to see exactly that. But Pro Sportfisher also has a lot of different US tubes that can be used as the full body on a fly like this HKA Sunray Shadow. So overall, also what I find is that the Pro Sportfisher cones and discs have the best coating, have the best finish. They are painted more times than the other brands, which makes these last longer, so they do not lose color over time, as you can see from time to time happening with some of the Futurefly stuff and some of the Frodin stuff as well. Also, Pro Sportfisher has the best Tubefly needle out there. This is without a doubt the best Tubefly needle. This is a bit crooked, and the reason for that is I tried to cut this with a pair of pliers, but my pliers were simply not strong enough to actually cut this because it's a bit lengthy. So if you have a pair of cutters that can actually cut this, then I would say a good idea is to shorten the length of this a little. And that makes it a bit more ideal. This size here is the large, and it will fit all the Pro tubes except the 1.4 millimeter, and it will fit all the Futurefly tubes. And if you should only get one needle, then you should get this one. Pro, of course, has one that fits the 1.4 millimeter as well. It's called the small, and this needle will again fit with the Frodin, the smallest of the Frodin tubes. The thing about this needle is it's really strong, it's really sturdy, it's really stable, and that is because this is made from a higher grade of steel than both Futurefly and Frodin needle. Futurefly and Frodin needle will last you a long time, but if you accidentally push hard on those, you can bend them a bit, and that's of course not ideal. That's not possible with this needle. So the Pro Sportfisher Flexi needle is my all-time favorite needle for tying just almost all types of flies. What I really would like to stress and to explain here is that if you take the 1.8 millimeter tube from Futurefly, then what you're able to do is actually to fit all the Pro stuff on there as well, without the diameter interfering too much with the hole here is not going to be so big that it interferes with how you actually tie your fly. So what I do a lot is the basic tube I use the most is the Futurefly tube in 1.8 millimeters, because then it's possible for me to use all the Futurefly stuff on there, but it's also possible to use all the Pro Sportfisher stuff on there. And the 1.8 millimeter tube is quite sturdy, is quite robust, and that makes an ideal way of using both the Futurefly and the Pro Sportfisher system. So, also, of course, I forgot to mention that Pro Sportfisher makes the best artificial jungle cock out there. These are just really, really awesome, and you can get both a small package, a bulk package with a lot of different feathers, not feathers, but artificial feathers. But you can also buy. Pro just added a really cool new item that's called a full cape, which basically is a pretty big sheet that has all the different sizes. And also Pro Sportfisher makes these in more sizes than any other company. So you can get a triple X small all the way up to an XL. So every single fly that you tie, even the smallest of flies, can be used with the Pro Sportfischer artificial jungle cock. So Pro Sportfischer, Futurefly and Frodin all have different things. The Pro Sportfischer has some really unique weights, and I'm really happy and use the Pro Sportfischer a lot. So this turned out to be quite a big guide to these three different Tubefly systems: the Futurefly, the Frodin, and the Pro system. But I think I'm hearing a lot of questions about this. What I can say about the way of tying Tubeflies, the technique of using Tubeflies is it's very diverse. You can use Tubeflies. You can apply You can apply Tubefly systems to any aspect of fly tying. You can use it for pike, you can use it for saltwater, you can use it for big streamers on trout. So basically, almost all different types of patterns, maybe with the exception of dry fly, can be used and tied on tubes. And tubes just offer you a lot of different variety, a lot of cool options, and it opens up a completely new world of tying your favorite patterns in a new way. So if you haven't done so already, if you haven't started tying on tubes, I urge you to try this out, because it gives you just a tremendous amount of great opportunities and possibilities. I know that all of these different things can look really confusing, and that's why I did this video. It was to try to clarify exactly what the different system works well with and is usable for. And I hope that you found this tutorial, this explanation useful. As always, you can get all the different things shown in this video at my webshop. It's called Nordic Anglers. My name is Daniel, and I would like to urge you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so, because, well, basically that would mean a lot to me. Otherwise, thank you a lot for watching, and good luck out on the water.